Hey everyone. Hello, Deirdre. Welcome to the podcast.
You?
Thank you so much for coming here today, spending your time. Um, my goal is to allow people to really get to know who you are and what you do. Um, I value you personally, but your work as well, um, very much so. And I feel like you have such a kind heart, a lot of really valuable knowledge um, that really helps people and has helped me. Just so any of the viewers that don't know, um, I met Deirdre, I think, about 4 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and I was having a spiritual awakening at the time, and another one. They never end, right? You continue to have them because you have to continue to grow, um, and change and evolve. So what I love about our interaction together and the readings that I've received from you, and even the training that I received with you, the training. What is it? Number one,
Astrology. Yeah.
astrology, esoteric
Yeah.
astrology
Yeah.
training. Um, what I love about what you do, it's like you get more than you give more than a person expects or realizes that they're going to receive.
Oh, thank you.
So it's on many levels. So I have benefited greatly from knowing you and your work, and I wanted to share you
Thank
and
you.
what you do with a broader audience, with more people, because you help people. So I'll talk a little bit about that. Um,
Okay.
so Deirdre's an esoteric astrologer, and I'll have you explain what that is. A metaphysical teacher, an empowerment mentor. Um, you offer in-depth, they're very in-depth, astrological readings, guided meditation journeys. You do retreats, live retreats, like in-person retreats as well in New Zealand, and other workshops and the other things you can do. You can talk about those. So having you as a friend and even as a colleague has been a really beautiful experience for me. And even in the before we started recording, just I felt that same energy and that same connection. Um, and just listening to your voice and what you were saying to me as we conversed. Um, so I have my notes, but what I already said that part. So I think that's it for the introduction. So now I'll ask you to speak about your journey, so that people can get to know you, your journey on your own soul mission, and how you discovered it, and how you came to do what you do.
Okay. Thank you. Lovely to be here with you today. And thank you very much for inviting me to do this podcast with you. So as Roberto said, my name's Deidre. I'm an esoteric astrologer and I'm based in New Zealand. I do travel to do my work, but most of what I do is based in New Zealand. And so I have been doing astrology for around about just over 20 years now. And I came across it in a strange way. All my life, as a child growing up, I was around about 38 when I started doing this work. And so all my life, I'd loved astrology. I'd always, read my horoscope whenever I could. I used to love to go and have clairvoyant readings with people. And I used to sit having these readings thinking, oh, it'd be so cool if I could do that. What a great job that would be. And I had no idea for most of my life until I met my teacher that I was actually already doing it. I thought everybody knew things about other people. I thought everybody knew what might be going to happen tomorrow. I thought everybody had dreams, and then the next thing those dreams happened. I just thought that was completely normal. So I never questioned it. I used to get in trouble when I'd say things sometimes that people didn't want me to say, that I could very clearly see about them. That got me in a bit of trouble. But I honestly thought it was quite normal until I met my teacher. And so when I met my teacher, I was pretty much brought to my knees to do this work. I had been working in very many other different roles and careers before I became an astrologer, because I'd never believed in myself enough to think that I could do this work. And this was the big key to my being able to do this, was like they brought me to my knees, Spirit brought me to my knees to make sure I would do it. I had to rebuild myself from the old person I was into the person I am today, because the old person, when I first started off doing this, had no self-worth, no self-love, no empowerment, nothing at all did I believe in myself. And so through astrology, I really learned how to believe in myself. And then what I've done from there is go on, and this is the major purpose of my work, is to empower other people so that they can believe in themselves. Because when you see your astrology chart, I'll always remember the first time I read my astrology report, the written report about my chart, and just looked at it in black and white and thought, well, there you are, that's me. What am I going to do about it? Am I going to celebrate these facts that I'm like this, or am I going to run a million miles away from it and not do it again? But I decided to embrace it. And it was a tough journey because I had to learn self-love. To be able to do this work, to be able to help other people to learn things, I had to learn them for myself first. So it hasn't been an easy journey at all, but I would not change any of it for anything. It really has allowed me to see myself in a completely different light and to really help people. I love to help people. I love to help people to understand that there's nothing wrong with them, that we all choose to come into our lifetimes and we make these choices before we're born of who we're going to be, what we're going to look like, who our parents are going to be, what our gifts and talents we're going to bring in are, where we're going to live, whether we're going to travel, any disabilities or inadequacies we might have. We choose all of this before we're born, and we come down here to learn how to do it, because the soul wants to experience everything to be whole. So for instance, if you decided in a lifetime you wanted to be a builder or a carpenter, you could read 100 books on how to build a house, you could watch lots of videos, you could listen to people talk, but until you actually pick up that hammer and hit that nail, you've got no idea what you're doing. And this is what life is like, and this is what I try to teach people, is that you choose these challenging experiences to go through so that you can understand what it feels like to be like that, or to go through that, and to really, and when you have the experience, your soul evolves and it starts to learn more and grow more and take you higher and raise your frequency and your vibration. So it's been a long journey to get there, but it's been amazing, and I love what I do. And my purpose is to really help people so that they can find their path and know how to navigate it, because we've got, your astrology is the blueprint of everything you chose to come here, do, be, experience. So when you can understand, actually, this is part of my choice in this lifetime. So if I've chosen to go through this, I must have chosen to go through this for a very good reason, because we don't choose to be miserable. We don't choose to be unhappy. We just choose experiences that are going to make us feel that way. And so you and I, Roberto, we've both been divorced. And, if we were to have known when we were 5, 6 years old, or you're going to meet somebody and then you're going to be happy with them, and then it's going to be a divorce and then you're going to be very unhappy, you would have thought, well, I'm not even going to get married then. I'm not even going to allow myself to go down that track. I don't want to go through that. And therefore you missed all the experience, all the learning that you went through from having that experience, good or bad.
Good thing I didn't see that in my chart.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in my chart, it's actually marked in my chart. There is a mark of divorce that you can have in your chart that shows you this is actually what you're in for in this lifetime. But then again, knowing that at 5 wouldn't have been beneficial at all.
I just wanted to note a couple of things that you said, a reaction to some of the things you said. I think it's really beautiful what you said. I'm glad you shared your journey, because we all go through that same journey, and it's okay to feel inadequate sometimes. Like what you're saying, it's like these challenges that you put is so that you can rise to the occasion and show yourself that you're capable of that, you're worthy of that, and you find your own self-confidence and self-value in that. And I feel like from what you said, it's like what you do in astrology is not just the numbers and the points and the angles and the planets and the thing. You're really tapping into and tuning into someone else's journey and then using the astrology to help empower them. Yeah. So maybe can you share some ways that the chart, the chart reflect? Oh, you know what I'm going to say. So just go for it.
Yeah. So in your natal chart, the natal chart is a map of the heavens, a snapshot of the heavens at the exact moment you were born. So no two natal charts are ever the same. Even twins are different. It's a little bit different now. I mean, back in the old days, nowadays most twins or triplets are delivered by a cesarean section. So pull one out, pull out the next one. So it's quite quick. But back in the old days, there could be half an hour, there could be an hour or more between twins being delivered. And so major differences in their personalities because of that. But when we've got these twins and people being born very quickly close to each other, the planets move in relation to one another every 4 minutes. And so, everything changes, well, not everything, but things change every 4 minutes. So when we look at the natal chart, what we can see in there is who you've come here to be in this lifetime. So the first thing, of course, you choose is your sun sign. We all know what our sun sign is, but we're all made up of all 12 signs of the zodiac, not just that sun sign. But your sun sign is your primary focus. And so there are lessons that are associated with each sign of the zodiac and why you've chosen to come here under that particular sign of the zodiac. So interestingly for me, I'm a Cancerian, and the greatest life lesson for Cancerians is self-love. So I had to learn this to be able to do what I do. And I'm a water sign, and you are a Pisces, Roberto, and your greatest life lesson is to be present, because Piscean people are very connected to spirit, very, very connected. And so it's much more interesting and fun and good for you to spend lots of time in here and not so much time in the outside world, because what's going on up here for you is a million times more interesting than reality. So why would you want to be involved in reality?
Totally.
But you see, when you're not involved, you chose to come here. So you've got to remind yourself constantly, I'm here for a purpose, I'm here for a reason, I've got to get on with it. I can't just be standing observing everything going on. I've got to participate in my life if I want it to turn into something.
Yeah, that was a big
lesson. So within the
me.
chart, we can see all your makeup. So we can see how relationships are going to be for you in this lifetime, what your childhood's going to be like growing up. And so what I've discovered through learning all about astrology is that we need to do metaphysical work as well, which means that we need to look at all the reasons why we are what we are and what affects us as human beings on the earth plane. Because as I see it, we're all spirit having a human experience. So once we come to the earth plane, we have the ego to contend with, because while we're in spirit, there's only love. That's the only emotion that exists. But when we come down to the earth plane, we have love and we have fear, and fear encompasses everything negative down here. And so and the other thing we have to look at is past lives, which is also all documented in your astrology chart as well. So when we do the inner child work, this is really important part of your development and learning in this lifetime, is you've got to heal what's gone before. Otherwise, what happens is if you haven't healed that wound you had of never being allowed as a child to speak up, never being allowed to have an opinion, never being allowed to say no, you always had to say yes, all of that, it means if you don't heal that as a child, that then as an adult, every time someone doesn't listen to you, you react like the little child to that hurt, because it's never been healed. And that means that you're acting inappropriately or out of proportion to what's going on, and you overreact to things. And so you just need to heal that original wound instead of pretending it never happened. Deal with the little child and you'll be fine. And so the next thing I discovered as I worked through this was the ego self. When we arrive on the earth plane, we're all full of love and light, and then the ego comes along and gives us a good slap around. So we're around about the age of 6 to 8 years old before we fully arrive on the earth plane. Up until then, we've got 1 foot in the spirit world and 1 foot on the earth plane. And between 6 and 8, we actually fully ground ourselves and become fully human, or as human as we're going to be. And so for Piscean people like yourself, that can be a really big event. They can actually feel quite lost, quite, not what am I doing? I've suddenly arrived somewhere and I didn't even know I was here. Can be quite, challenging, especially for Pisceans, to arrive on the earth plane. So once we arrive here, we have this ego, and your ego is very attached to your emotions. And your ego has no interest in your happiness. It just wants to keep you in fear all the time, because while you're in fear, it's in charge. But as soon as you step into love, into peace, into joy, into happiness, the higher self comes in, and then it's in charge. So there's like they're having those little angels and devil on each shoulder, your higher self and your ego self, and they don't get along very well with each other at all. So one of the things I've also created are these programs where you can learn how to be in your higher self, how to identify the ego self at every opportunity so that you can keep it down and not controlling you in every way.
That's super
And the
important.
other thing that I noticed in our natal charts was the past lives and the effects that they have on us. We actually spend 85% of our time in past life energy, because your soul remembers every lifetime it's ever had. And all at once, so as soon as it comes across a place, a person, a smell, an experience in this lifetime that it recognizes from another lifetime, it goes, oh, I remember this. We did this back in the 13th century. Let's go back and do it that way again. And of course, that's completely irrelevant to today, but it's learning that we need to look at. So, along with the astrology, there's all this metaphysical work that we do where we really look into where you come from, where you're going, and how you can evolve and ascend as fast as possible in one lifetime.
So you actually do that. So, because I had a question that I was going to ask is like,
Sure.
How can you do, I mean, I know metaphysically you would be tapping into someone's past life and what it means to them now, so then they can do that work to clear that. But is there any way in a person's, can you do a past life chart? It wouldn't seem possible because when a person was born.
Yeah, because the whole thing of an astrological chart is based on the exact time, date, and place of that birth. So unless you went back into that past life, did a regression, and could tell the person, I was born at this time in this place on that day, then we could definitely look at the chart for that. But unless we have those details, we can't cast the chart.
That's going to be my next past life session I have with somebody.
Yeah, that would be a really good one to do. Because I don't know if you've done past life regression where people go between lives and they look at, so they catch you between lives. So they're talking to you so you're giving commentary on what you've just lived, and then also giving commentary on what you're choosing to go into next. So that's a really interesting one.
I didn't even know that was the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Don't get me started.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but it's wonderful. It's like, it just brings up for me, like, all this work we do, like we do focus on our present incarnations, our upbringing, our programming, our wounds, all of that stuff, the inner child work, the ego work, to clear the past.
Yeah.
So that we can move into our higher self's mission more fully. It becomes that time in our life once we clear the karmas, clear all those things.
Yeah.
But then I think what you're reminding people in this is that we have to go to our past lives as well, because as you said, and as I know, you carry that in with you. You carry the wounds of that with you. You carry the talents and skills and the affinities for things that can help you as well. So I just wanted to really note and highlight what you said about like how important it is to go to that part of your past as well.
Yeah.
Because things there can hold you back. You're not even aware of it.
Yeah, exactly. But you're reacting and you're behaving in a way that doesn't actually even make sense to you. You're having this huge overreaction to something, or this fear of something, and you think, I don't even understand why I'm doing this, but I can't stop doing it, because your soul's just thinking, this is what we did last time, we better keep doing it this way. And I remember when I started exploring past lives, my ex-husband, we had 25 lifetimes together, and 17 of those we ended up, one of us killing the other. They were really terrible lifetimes.
Oh, wow.
But it was really interesting to
explore. And you guys kept choosing that. You're like,
yeah, we kept coming back.
You're like, let's do it again. Right. I'm going to win this time.
Yeah, real slow learners. But this lifetime we've done it. We're divorced now, but we still love each other very much. And we live completely different lives. We have nothing to do with each other, but it's all gone. All of that anger, all of that past life stuff that we kept repeating time and time again, it's all gone. It's all dealt with now. And that's something to be very aware of, is that, we choose our lives before we're born. There are no mistakes and no accidents. So all of those difficult experiences you've been through, you chose to go through so you could learn something. And the same with all the good experiences you've been through. They're all so you can learn and grow. But we've got to keep on top of that and keep being aware of what we're learning at all times, rather than allowing ourselves to get caught in the emotion, which is what the humanness of us, or the ego, really wants us to do.
Yes, and if there's something that we're working on in this life, and it's like, and then like, okay, for instance, but what I was going to say was, so you're working on something in this life, and then it's like, you think you've handled it, and oh yeah, I cleared that. Okay, that makes sense. Yes, I got that divorce. I understand that. There's no hard feelings. It's just, this is the next step in my evolution. That was our time together, and that came to completion, and now it's time to move forward in a different direction, and then have the courage to do that. But it's like, this is something else that came up for me, because I was like, oh, okay. And you mentioned it earlier, it's like I had to deal with I wasn't listened to, my opinion wasn't valued, I had to be quiet, like, and I knew a lot, and I knew I was born, like I came here knowing who I was.
Yeah.
Even as like I have memories from when I was 2, when I was 3, when I was 4,
Very unusual.
starting way back there. And I was contemplating questions that someone my age would not normally be contemplating. And I would sit there playing with other children and go, they're not thinking the same thing. And then there was this like abandonment kind of thing. I felt like I was dropped off the spiritual bus. and I was just like, there you go. You got nobody supporting you. You got nobody. You got to figure this out on your own. And age 7, like you said, was significant in a realization of me actually, okay, I'm here. Because I'm the Piscean, and I was alone all the time. So my whole world, I didn't have to go on vacation. I had my own, journeys.
Exactly.
So what I did not realize until recently, doing the past life thing, that was happening continuously in some other way in past lives, where I voiced, like I come from this place of love all the time. And when I would voice a different way of doing things that's more loving, a different way of looking at things, or I stood up, for what was right, I was killed for it, or I was imprisoned for it, or so it was like this constant like shutting up. And then I had lifetimes that I was in a monastery and I loved it because I didn't have to deal with that, but still I didn't fit into that as well.
Yes.
So me doing this podcast is really huge. It's a huge thing I've realized. I was terrified to speak in public from when I was a kid, and I always had to do these things. I'm not a shy person, but I was very reserved and didn't say anything or speak because things that I said were not received, because I knew things. It was like I had an adult mind in a child's body and no one was listening, you know? So I learned that what I had to say was of no value to people. So whenever I would have to present and do stuff like that, I was so, I would do it, but I hated it. I was sweating. I couldn't wait for it to be over, that kind of thing. And, I decided when I started to, it followed me through adulthood and in different ways. But I was like, okay, if I have a hard time with people that I don't know and what their opinions of me would be, or being comfortable with just starting a conversation and talking with them, I decided to go and get a job as a waiter. So I would have to walk up to people constantly and create an atmosphere and speak to them and get over that fear. So then that was one step, but then it was the public speaking. So I kept, I could perform on stage, but I wasn't speaking doing it. Then the next step was doing music and actually singing. That's a voice on stage, and hoping not to mess up and be criticized and stuff like that. And I could do that. I finally could do that. And then it came to this, and I didn't. It's like I know I'm supposed to do this, and I know that I'll be really good at it, but I really don't want to do this. I'm like, I know I can do it. I do it, and like whatever. But now, so I really had to face that past life. It was like a conglomeration. It wasn't just this life. It was past life. So that was a long way around to say, you're right, Deirdre. We have to consider where these things are coming from, especially when we don't know why you're feeling that way. Because you know you're okay. Like I said, I know I can do it. I know I'm capable. I have proven to myself that I can do these things and I'm capable. And some people like what I have to say or listen. It means something for them and helps them. But what is this feeling?
Well, what I think it is, it's obviously past life stuff, of course, but the thing is, when you're a Piscean like you are, or if you have a lot of Piscean energy in your chart, you may not be born with a Piscean sun, but you might have lots of other planets in Pisces. Usually what that will show us from a past life perspective is that you've had many, many lifetimes in service. lifetime after lifetime of serving humanity in some way. So, you know, as a monk, as a nun, as a caregiver, as a nurse, as whatever, it's always been, you've always put the importance on looking after other people. So when you come into this lifetime and you are challenged to do things in a different way, and learn that your soul wants to learn what it's like to not be in service, or to be able to put yourself first but still be in service, is your greatest challenge in this lifetime. For most Pisceans, how do I put myself first and still be in service to everybody else? How do I get that balance right? And it's a big challenge.
I feel like you know me.
I think we've met before.
It is, because it's been one or the other. And I think that, you know, a lot of empathic people are people that are on a similar path as ours. We have this desire to, it's more than a desire. It's like a soul's calling.
It's a drive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
To be of service of people. And, you know, it was like one or the other. I can be of service to people, but I can't actually do that as a living, you know, with monetary compensation. Or if I'm, you know, and then, you know, we don't want to just go for that and have it be an empty, soulless mission.
Absolutely.
So it's like, the lesson is how to
and in many of those lifetimes where you've been in service, all your needs have been looked after. So you were able to serve, but you didn't have to make a living. You were either paid for what you did, or you lived in a community or some sort of monastery or whatever, where all your needs were looked after. So having to serve and make money, wow, that's just a bit of a head, blows your brain a little bit, because I don't know how to do this. I haven't experienced this before. And this is how we notice in life. There are things that you will have learned and done in this lifetime that just you learned like that. They were so easy, just made perfect sense that this is how this works and that's how that works. And then there's other things that you've come to learn in this lifetime that you've really struggled. You had to work really hard to learn how they actually worked. So the ones that you find really easy to learn are things that your soul's learned in other lifetimes. So it goes like, yeah, we know how this works. But those things that you haven't learned in other lifetimes that are new learning at this lifetime can be really, really hard to learn. And you have to keep starting again and going back to the beginning.
So all of this that we're talking about, it shows up in a person's chart.
Absolutely.
You know, what I learned in your readings and what people call on Deidre, you're going to learn a lot more, you know, about yourself that you might not have, you know, you may have done astrology or had readings before. I'm telling you, it's very different. And if you're really listening to what Deirdre's saying and how she's saying it, there's a component to your work that was the part what I was saying. It gives you more than you expected, because you might know yourself on certain levels. You may have had charts done before, but this is very different.
Yeah. And I think it's because I use a combination of astrology and my intuition. So as soon as I see your chart, I start tuning into you, and I can see you, I can feel you, I can feel what you've done before, what you're going to do. It all sort of kickstarts it all for me. I think it's that combination that makes it there's so much more in depth than other readings.
Yes. And so you are going, I'm just going to, summarize. So you do go into past lives for people if that's what comes up and sees. Yep. So that's to me, and all of those other things that we're talking about. So that's what you mean by esoteric astrology or intuitive astrology, and using metaphysical principles and ways
it's the journey
of looking
of the
at
soul.
Things. There you go. So you're not just looking at, this is my incarnation here. You're looking at someone's complete soul journey.
Yes. Yeah. What got them to where they are now, what they still need to do to carry on and to do more. Yeah. And it's interesting. Sometimes I come across people, actually, in all the times I've been doing astrology, I think I've maybe come across half a dozen people who have no past life lessons. It's very, very unusual.
Yeah, that's not me.
And they have been highly, highly spiritually developed people. Really, really, ready to go home and not come back.
That's wild. You are tuning into me as well during this, just naturally, because it's just, you're so used to it. It just happens, right? But there's some things that you said that, I've always been in some kind of service for humanity where my needs were taken care of in some way. And all of the past lives that I know about so far, have been that. And my greatest lesson in this life is to be able to do that for myself. And I have.
Exactly.
I've stepped up all throughout my life. I wouldn't be here right now. But the tendency is to want to be taken care of.
Yes. Well, we all want to do, it's natural to want to go with what's familiar to you. That's what we all do. It's a very common, normal way to be.
And I have to say, with all the challenges in doing that, and even my current challenges in doing that, because I totally transformed my life and I left I'm starting over in every which way. I have a different perspective this time.
Yeah.
Because of doing all of that. So instead of being like, I don't want someone to take care of me. So I don't have that feeling anymore. It's like, I get to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping this is it. I don't want to do this again.
Yeah. The other thing that we can get very caught up in, though, we have to be aware of, is that when we do learn something, so like for you, you've now got this awareness that you don't need to be taken care of, that you want to take care of yourself. You don't want other people to do that for you. And so it's almost like, because of the humanness of us, we make this big leap of progress. And then we think, okay, I don't need to be looked after, and I've worked this out for myself, and I'm in a much better space. Where's the reward? Come on, bring me my reward now, because I've done all this hard work. And then we don't get it. And you've just got to keep going on, feeling better about yourself. But it's quite
the reward
funny.
is, you know what the reward is? I'm just going to joke a little bit. It's like, ooh, I made it through that one. Okay, now what? Now what's next? What's my next? What's the next?
What's my next mountain to climb?
So I did want you to talk a little bit about, like, how can people, because we're talking about this, there's what people consider negative aspects to their charts, or their signs, or their planets in whatever house, whatever it is that they feel might be a handicap for them in this life.
Absolutely.
It's like, how do people look at that, and then what can they use, or we use, to transcend your chart? Because I believe that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to transcend
absolutely
those aspects.
Absolutely. So I think that, we call it the shadow aspect of each sign of the zodiac. And of course, we're all positive and negative, shadow and light. And so it's about really balancing the two out. If I use Scorpio as an example, because, Scorpio gets a really bad rap because it's known for its sting. But, the reason Scorpio has got such a nasty sting is it's the most sensitive sign of the zodiac. And Scorpio people can only process things by how it makes them feel. That's their way of analyzing and working things out. They can't do it any other way. And so what they've got to learn, that's the way they naturally operate. We can't change that. But what we can do is be aware of that and work it differently. So what I always say to Scorpio people, you're very sensitive. It's very easy for you to overreact. It's very easy for you to feel like you're being victimized and picked on and all of that. So next time somebody says something to you that you don't like or it upsets you, stop and process it immediately. Have a real think about what that person actually said and then react to it. Otherwise, because if you don't, as a Scorpio, it's a knee-jerk reaction every time. You hurt me, I'm going to hurt you back. Instead of thinking, oh, maybe they were just trying to help by saying it. It was a little bit hurtful the way they put it, but I think they were just trying to help. Okay, I can react in a better way to that. So it's just about being aware of yourself. So if you know what your challenges and your shortcomings are, then you do something about them. Like you as a Pisces, one of your shortcomings is being in la-la land too much. And so you've got to be aware of that and know when the time comes for you that you really need to be present, that you are present and that you're not off doing your own thing in your head at the same time as answering a phone or having a conversation with somebody else. You're actually there.
I found as a Pisces, or just as a human, that because I live it, I get visions of possible futures for myself and for other people, so in my mediumship work and stuff like that. So to me, there's a fine line between what is fantasizing about something and then, and the whole manifestation thing of like, you have to dream, you have to fantasize in a way or get a vision of what your best possible future would be, so that you can draw it to you. You can feel it, you can experience it in the present and draw it to you. So the lesson that I would say, just being a Pisces and from what you're saying, you know, is to really make sure, and I say this to myself too, to make sure that what I dream up and what's in my fantasy world, that if that's what I know I'm supposed to do, that I actually manifest it here. Mm-hmm. That I take the time, because in those other higher realms, which we're all wanting to attain, because we're all wanting to level up, and it kind of takes us out of this world a bit. Everything happens so much faster. Yes. And learning how to take that energy and bring it back, ground it, and bring it back here. Because it's like you were saying, it's like, you know, why would you come here? You're not here to torture yourself. Yeah. You're certainly not here to torture other people, so don't torture anyone. But yeah, it's to fulfill something. It's to fulfill a purpose.
Yeah, and so, you know, we've got to sort of embrace that shadow side of ourselves, and see that it's you've done nothing wrong in this lifetime. You might have, you know, screwed up a few things and not learning them quickly enough, or the way that you were supposed to. But, you know, to me, the only time you're failing is when you keep repeating the same mistake over and over and over again. Then you're really not listening, you're not learning. But a lot of it, to me, is about remembering. You talked about earlier on about we're all in this sort of state of awakening, and I agree with you, we are awakening, but a lot of that awakening is remembering who we used to be. Because we all used to be a lot more powerful within ourselves than we are now. And we've got to remember that we have the ability to create anything, but we can't create it unless we believe in ourselves. And this is the key. And this is what, you know, the ego and the powers that be on the earth plane and all of the energies here are constantly trying to keep us away from really knowing ourselves. Because when you know yourself, you can do anything. You really can. But, you know, as long as there's doubt there, as long as there's fear there, you won't be able to manifest all of that.
But this is what this work is all about, is remembering who you are. Yeah. And understanding that you, like, I'm just hearing, you know, you've been there before. So whatever this like fallen consciousness that happened between when you completely knew who you were and you were at this higher elevation is now been our task to remember who we are. Even back to my childhood when I landed here. Yeah. Absolutely. I knew who I was. I couldn't formulate words around it. But then later in my adult life, I was taken back into a past life, my first incarnation here on Earth. And what I noticed was my mission here that I'm trying to accomplish is a full remembering of that first life, where I was a temple priest in Atlantis, you know, and they called us emanators. There wasn't just me. There were a bunch of them, and we actually were channeling divine energy into the civilization so that people can thrive and flourish. And that you were selected at birth. Well, you were selected as a small child, and you were taken from your family and you lived in the temple. And it was an honor to do that. And you were well taken care of, like we're talking about. Yeah. And it dawned on me, like, you know, 2 years ago with this past life thing, that, wait a second, I've been climbing and crawling myself back to that. Because when I was first here and first born, I felt that divine energy coming through me to other people. And a lot of empaths have this, and a lot of mystical, or people that are in this metaphysical work have that. So it shines a light. And what you said when you were growing up in your story, it's like it shines a light, which then becomes a mirror of somebody's ego or shadows and their positive things as well. So if they're not living up to that reflection of who they really are, because that light shows them basically their higher self, their soul, who they are, then they will have reactions to that. Sometimes it's like an awareness, and it's like, oh, okay, wow, you know, I really need to nurture that side of myself. Or it can be, they can push you away because they don't want to see.
Yeah, and that's where we get the mirror mirrors and the reflections that, again, because everybody who's in your life, you chose to put there. Every single person, maybe not a random person you might bump into in the street, and nothing more comes out of that, but every other person you've met, there's a purpose for them to be in your life. So it's really important that we learn to use people, and not negatively, but if you've chosen to have that person in your life, there's a reason for it. So work out what that reason is and use it, because they're using you because they need something from you too. So it's not a bad thing. It's about how we really get to fill in, link the dots, basically, connect all the dots so that we all know where we're going. But
I think that's beautiful.
So it's very common for us to come across people who have the full-blown effect of something that we have a little bit of, and especially if it's something negative. So if you meet somebody and they are really aggressive, and you think, oh, I really don't like that, I don't really like aggressive people, what that person is showing you is that you've got a little bit of aggression in you that you need to be aware of or to do something with, because this is what it looks like if it gets blown out of proportion or gets out of hand. And the same when you meet someone, you think, oh, that person's the kindest person I've ever met. Again, you're being shown you're really kind too. You could look like that and be as kind as that person if you develop that a bit more. So it's good to really be aware who's around you at all times to see why they're there. And we often notice too in astrology that you will keep attracting to you the same sign of the zodiac until you learn what they have to teach you. So as a Piscean, you could, for instance, attract lots and lots of Leos to you, because they're teaching you to to be a leader. They're teaching you to put yourself out there. They're teaching you to be on the stage and be dramatic, as Leos do so naturally. And as a Piscean, it's often something that you as you said, you don't really like being in the public eye too much. You'll do it and you can do it, but it's not your choice. But
I'm learning that I kind of like it. I'm starting to like it.
Good.
But it's not, it's not like a superficial thing. It's because it's attached to what my soul is supposed to be doing now.
Yeah. And you're sharing knowledge. You're doing what you came here to do. And it's help people wake up or remember who they are and what they're capable of.
Yeah, but the feeling is, well, if in order to do this, that's what I'm supposed to do. So I may as well enjoy it and enjoy the mission and just step forward. That's what I think, everyone is like, I don't know. It's like, it's always in my messaging somehow it comes out. It's like, just take a step forward. You have to keep taking steps forward, regardless of any fears, doubts, or anything. It's like, you got to tune into yourself and know. And go ahead. Yeah.
And I have a belief at the moment that the age that we're in now is the age of Atlantis and Lemuria all over again. And I really believe that, Atlantis fell because the Atlantean people became so preoccupied with technology and what they could do to evolve themselves using technology rather than using the beauty of the earth plane and the energy of the spirit world, which they used to use and what the Lemurians were using. And so Atlantis collapsed because of that. It could not sustain itself. It went down. And I believe we're back in that time again. So I also believe that a lot of us here who are doing the spiritual work now, we're part of Atlantis and part of Lemuria back then, and we're back to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's why that the energy, the upsurge of spiritual energy at the moment is so important, because we're back to save the planet, so this doesn't, we're not going to go down again.
Yes, and I'm going to say one thing, and then we should probably go into more of a global thing because you're talking about that. But that so tunes into my soul mission. And what I was saying before, that was my first life in Atlantis. I was there. There was one in Lemuria as well. Mm-hmm. I was shown that. Yeah. And my long-term plan, which I'm hoping is going to be a short-term plan, is I haven't really shared this with many people. I am attempting to create a Lemurian community somewhere on this planet with those higher energies where we're free to live in those spiritual things. And I like technology, but technology with a consciousness can be very, very helpful in people's healing. Absolutely. So I work with technology as well to enhance the healing process. And we were talking about that, these technologies before we got on. So I have been dreaming about that since I was a little kid. Like, I didn't understand what's this money thing as a child. Here,
exactly.
I have something. Here, share this with me.
Mm.
Like that was my whole concept of,
yeah.
And the world was alien to me, that you had to like do something else and you had to hold things to yourself or whatever. But that's a long story. So I'm trying to create a self-sustainable community that
Great.
is built as a temple area for people to go and retreat, so that they can remember who they are, clear out all of the things that are not allowing them to be,
Absolutely.
and that's like I need I need support in that. So
yeah.
Yeah, that's my dream. So you're saying it's like,
I really think that's the way the world needs to go to heal and to survive, is to actually break down back into community living like we used to be.
yes,
I actually truly, in my own personal opinion, without getting too political, is I think the days of governments are over. They don't work. They're corrupt and they're greedy. And it seems like everybody, even with the best intentions, the minute they step through that political door, it all goes out the back door, and they lose their light, basically.
but
so
it's
I think
an
it's
old
time for us to go back.
paradigm that no longer works, and we're learning that now. And
Yeah.
I'm talking about me in this, and my dream. It's like I'm not the only one dreaming this.
No,
You're thinking about
everybody's
this.
dreaming.
There's people that are creating these spaces all around the world, and we have to remember not to look at the okay. So now we'll get into it, because I'm getting the guidance to the world, like all of these old paradigms and old ways of doing things, and what I'm just going to say paradigms, what they are. They're crumbling. They don't work anymore. The earth is raising its vibration. It's being scientifically shown in the Schumann resonance. The sun is, this year, is going to rotate its poles again. It's a natural thing that happens with the sun every so many years.
Cycles,
and there's a lot more solar activity. Some people see that as it's going to disrupt everything, and there'll be more disasters and stuff like that, and some of that might be so. However, it's also enhancing the planet. It's nourishing. So I want to remind people that that's what's happening too. So it's like we have to shed our own stuff. We have to shed these old ways of thinking and move more into a community experience, like you're saying, so that we are more compatible with those higher energies. And then those people that are more compatible with those energies can move forward into that new paradigm, that new way of living. Some people call it the new earth. And those that are unwilling to do that, or it's just not in their mission to do that, are going to remain in a different reality that reflects more of this negative stuff and this destruction and stuff that's going on. So on that, I'd like you to talk a little bit about, because this is what Pluto is doing. Pluto's returned.
What Pluto's doing. Absolutely. So the last, up until earlier this year, Pluto had been sitting in the sign of Capricorn for 17 years. And so Pluto is the planet of transformation. He's one of the big boys. And so his job is to transform us out of slave mentality and into mastership in whatever we do. And so when we look at, the planets affect us all as individuals and our own journeys and what we're here to learn as people on our own. And we also have the collective energy, so that the planets affect the collective energy as well. So while Pluto was in Capricorn energy is very top feeding. It feeds from the top down. And it's also very patriarchal. It's very conservative. It's very traditional. It's very old fashioned. It likes and it believes that things should always be done the same way that they've always been done, because that worked before, so it's bound to work again. But what we've seen is that these systems, the banking systems, the health systems, the government systems around the world are all crumbling because they simply don't work. They haven't kept up with the earth evolving and with us evolving as people. And so now that Pluto has moved into Aquarius, everything is going to change. And it's actually a really powerful energy where a lot of people are talking doom and gloom, but I refuse to look in that direction, because Aquarian energy is all about new solutions to old problems. So as we move with this energy, what we've got to do is look at the solutions and forget about focusing on the problem. Focusing on the problem gets us nowhere, because you're just blaming that person. Oh, that wouldn't have happened if they hadn't done this, and they need to take responsibility for that, and it's their fault. That's not going to fix anything. That can all be going on over here, but all we need to focus on is, what's the solution? What can I do to make my life better? And less better for the people around me as well. So this is what Pluto in Aquarius is going to do, because Aquarian energy is all about dancing to your own drumbeat. And one of the things that we have to be very, very aware of with AI, with this whole technology thing, is that it doesn't take over our thinking for us. You know, for too long, we have allowed other people to think for us, other people, the powers that be, to make decisions for us. And they haven't worked in our favor. It's all top feeding, and everything else trickles down to the rest of us. And that's not fair. And that's not the way the earth plane is supposed to be at all. So Aquarian energy,
it doesn't trickle down.
Yeah. So Aquarian energy is going to tip it upside down. So everything becomes horizontal feeding. We all become equal. And so, you know, the powers that be are doing their best at the moment to find all sorts of reasons why we shouldn't get along with each other. You know, he's black, he's white, you know, she's gay, she's straight, she from that country, she's Catholic, she's Jewish, whatever. They don't matter. The whole thing is that we're all human beings. We all believe in love, and that's what holds us together. And that's all we need to focus on, really. And so this age of Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius is going to be incredibly powerful, because it's going to shake up everything. And we're already starting to notice, and most of you out there listening to this, I hope, are already noticing for yourselves that you're probably just starting to think a little bit like, I could do that for myself, or I could work that out my way. I don't have to do it that way anymore. That way, I don't like that way anymore. It doesn't make sense why we do things that way. I'm going to try something new. And this is what we're supposed to be doing. This is what will save the world, is when we all are prepared to do things differently. Now, astrologically, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was a very long time ago, but it was the time of the French Revolution, which was quickly followed by the American Revolution. So, and what happened in those times is the power went back to the people. And this is what we need to focus on, is coming together as one for the future of the planet, rather than being divided up into little groups of she has, he said, they did, they didn't, whatever. Doesn't matter. We don't care. Don't care what sort of difference you want to be. As long as you believe in love, that's all that I care about. And this is where we're going to grow into these communities. And we're also going to find alternative currencies, which is already being established in a lot of places. Is, you know, we don't need, money is irrelevant. You know, we could be dealing, you know, what have you got that I don't have? And what have I got that you don't have? And let's just trade that. Or let's create a community of what's called a community or a bank of time, where we bank hours of our time and then we withdraw hours of other people's time. So you want your house painted, everybody has this bank of time, everybody comes and paints the house, you bank some more hours, and then when someone else needs their house painted, you all go and paint their house. So it sounds a little bit, that's a very vague way of looking at it, but it really does, when we start seeing that there's other things we can trade with each other, there's other things we can do to help one another by coming back as communities, then we will start to grow as a world and as a planet again.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, that's not alien. That's not an alien thing to me. But even 25 years ago, I knew someone, you know, I was a licensed massage therapist. I was doing massage therapy and energy healing work. And he came to me, he created this company. It was called Trade something. I forget the full name of it. And you were, like you were saying, you were banking hours. So I would provide certain services for people, and I would bank hours, and I can purchase other services with those hours from anybody that's in this community of people that are trading. And, you know, in other ways, you know, I feel like that was brilliant of him and very like before his time kind of thing to do. It worked beautifully. And it was effortless. Yeah. Everyone's being taken care of. Yeah.
And within that, you can still have money as well. It doesn't have to be all that currency. You just have a little bit, but money doesn't become the be all and end all. And that way, because also the other thing that does in that community is everybody gets to see what their purpose is. Rather than your purpose being, as the way in the old Capricornian way, your purpose and you're defined by how much money you earn or how successful you are or what your title is, instead it becomes you become celebrated because you're good at that one thing that other people aren't good at.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I think that's wonderful. Like if you, um, I'm just like, oh, I'm thinking about the possibilities.
Yeah, it's a neat thing to think
It's
into.
limitless. But you were
Yeah.
saying it's, I feel like I need to say this to everyone that's doing this kind of work, interested in this kind of work, has a loving spirit or is interested in helping build a community. You don't have to be a mystical teacher or anything
No.
like that to be on this mission to create, what I call, a, a utopia. And what is that
Absolutely.
really?
Heaven on
It's
earth.
not a Yeah, heaven on earth. It's not a pipe dream. It's
No.
we're led to believe that it's impossible,
Yeah.
but we can
Yeah, and
see
it's
it and we
funny
create
when I
it.
talk to some people. I had a conversation with someone the other day, and they just honestly they thought I'd lost my head. They just could not see, because all they could see was the doom and the gloom going forward. They couldn't see that there was a way out of this. And if we can't see the way out, we can't create a way out. So we've got to start looking at the possibilities.
Yeah, and not everybody's going to be on board,
No, and that's the role,
and
because
that's okay.
you've chosen your role that you're going to play in this evolvement of the earth plane. You've already chosen that before you were born. Some people chose, as you say, to not evolve and to stay in the old paradigm. That's their choice, and that's fine. And then other people are choosing differently, and that's fine too.
Yeah, well, it's a balance. It's like there has to be antagonists in order to spurn other people to seek something a different way. It's just like shadow work.
Yeah.
You look at your shadows or these negative things or deficiencies or whatever you want to call it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's showing me something. It's there for a reason.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't know anything's wrong, and you'll just be like, "Oh, this is wonderful."
Yeah. Stay asleep.
Stay asleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wanted to say one more thing with that. Was that people that like this message or into this, that's the way they see going forward is a new way of doing things, a better way of doing things, a more positive way of doing things that helps humanity, helps even your small pot of humanity that's right around you. That it's important that you step forward and do it, and that you're supposed to. That's what you came here for. So I'm like saying, don't let people sway you. Yeah. Don't let other opinions sway you.
Yeah.
And I think that Aquarian energy is calling us.
Yeah. And Aquarian
to be ourselves.
Exactly, to be yourself, but it's also a very rebellious energy. So it's not frightened to speak up. It's not frightened to just do it, basically. I think Aquarian energy isn't more about, look at me, I'm going to do it this way. It's more like, see you later, I'm just going over here to do it my way.
Yeah.
And it's going to work.
I don't care what you think. I'm good. Exactly. You're okay thinking the way you want to think. That's good too.
Yeah.
But I'm going over here to do what I had to do.
So we're creating our own reality. And as we talk with technology, technology will be a huge thing in the age of Aquarius, because Aquarian energy loves technology. It's very, very good with technology. And of course, when we look at, it's an amazing thing to say, be in an accident and lose your arm and then be able to have a bionic one or a new one built for you so you can use your arm again. That's incredible use of technology. That's amazing. But when you're asking technology to make decisions for you, to think for you, to create for you, that's the wrong use of technology. Yes, because that's stopping us from using our own brains.
Yes, and then you become dependent on it, and then where is the soul creation in that?
Yeah,
you can use it sometimes as a tool, but I know people that use AI programs. I won't name them, but they use them to build scripts for some of their work. You can have it make content for you. It saves a lot of time.
I have an issue with all of that.
I feel like I have to do it all myself, because that's what my mission is, and my insight is not in.
You're a spiritual, you're a spiritual channel. You can't suddenly channel AI. You're supposed to be channeling spirit. Yeah. I had a client recently who wanted to do affirmations with her clients. She was a massage therapist, and she wanted to be able to send her clients away with an affirmation to continue carrying on the work that she'd done on their body with the healing. And so I said, well, that's a great idea. I said, you come up with some good ones. And I spoke to her a week later, and she told me I've got 120. I said, wow, you've been busy. You had 120 affirmations. She goes, yeah, I got AI to do them for me. I said, no, that's not how affirmations work. You can't rely on technology to do something that's meant to come from the heart.
I mean, it could automate, like, I think it's really great. It can automate, you create the content and the stuff, and it can automate how it's put together in a presentation, because you give it a schematic and then you do that. Or you can create, art based on your intentions, and like digital videography, or to market you, or to, do those things that take us so much time, that we can stay in our creative space. So I'm not saying it's all bad, but there should be a lot of caution,
absolutely,
as to what we
question everything.
Yeah, I tried it. I have, about 11 or 12 now, guided meditation journeys. And I created one, and then I was testing it. So then I went to an AI thing and said, create me a thing that's called this, that has this element and this and this and this. And it wasn't any good. Some things in it were like, I was like, oh, well, that little moment in there was good, but it's not the same.
No,
it's not the same.
Because everything comes down to intent and to energy. And if you're not using the right intent or the right energy, it's not going to be a good result.
Yeah. So I don't know how we got on the AI thing, but it's important because things are changing. And, there's, like, I'll say it again. It's like, if we're going Lemurian, Atlantis kind of paradigm revisited at this point, a new era of those two places, it just shows the super consciousness, and then technology without that consciousness, and what it can do. Yeah,
exactly. We're so much more powerful than we have any idea. And it's time we remembered how powerful we are.
Yeah, with the conscious, used in a conscious way, there's so many breakthroughs, like in technology, like you're saying, it's like with robotic, limbs and things and stuff like that, or you can actually, send signals from your brain to the arm to control it, as if it's your arm.
It's amazing. It's incredible. And one of the other things to really be aware of as well, that, as I said, we choose our lives before we're born, and everybody who's alive at the moment, especially people, I would say, definitely anybody sort of over the age of 30, definitely has chosen to come here to the earth plane to cancel out all karma, because spirit and the universe are sick of waiting for us to finish doing all our karma and actually get back to
them and me and you and
yeah. Whoops. And so this lifetime, this is another reason why a lot of people are having very challenging lifetimes, or having to go through a lot of stuff, because they're getting rid of karma that's been built up over generation after generation. It's time to finally wipe that slate clean. But what we've also noticing is that some people, when it's time for them to pass over, people may be passing, some people, not everybody, but those people who are passing in quite a painful or, very suffering way are clearing out lifetimes of karma by choosing to go through their death process in that way. So they're clearing. And the other thing that's happening with people is that people are undergoing, a lot of older, elderly people are undergoing major personality changes as they move out of this lifetime, rather than having to come back and do it another lifetime. So if you've had a lifetime of being a very controlling, bossy, restrictive person, what's happening is that when you get to your 80s, you're suddenly doing this 180 and becoming this very gentle, caring, compassionate person. And in the past, you would have had to come back in another lifetime to learn how to be like that. But you're actually getting the chance to do all of this in one lifetime now. So things are really evolving fast to clear up and clean the earth plane.
Yeah, so I mean, that just fills me with hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Call me a romantic, but yeah, it's like, we have to, we see all the negative that's advertised to us. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
and we have to remember what's going on, like what's really going on in the positivity, how important it is to focus on that. That's the way back to yourself. That's the way out.
The other thing that I find really good to focus on is nature. Look at what is actually real. Go and sniff a flower, go and pick that flower, go and look at a leaf, hug a tree, whatever. That's what's real, and what's real is what we have to hold on to, not what's in our imaginations or what we're being sold on the internet. It's what you can actually physically put in your hand and hold. That's what's important.
Well, yeah, and that the technology we use, we're here on it right now. You're on a total other side of the planet, and it's just an example of how beautiful it is. We can bring our energy and we can bring our insights and all of this to each other and to other people very easily that would never even hear or see or know this information or who we are. And that's a good thing, but we have to remember that like you're saying, we have to stay connected to what's real. So that's why I want to create this big huge paradise retreat center. Because people need real experiences as well. We do this work online.
I think we're going to see a lot of those popping up around the world, because a lot of people thinking the same way.
Yes, I know some people that are already building their own somewhere and are already, looking towards building them around the world as well. And,
fantastic.
And it's just like, yes, it's like let's
get
on board with that. So that's very hopeful to me, and hopefully brings hope for other people. But to just stick, if who you are is here right now, listening to this, and you have these aspirations, just know that you're on the forefront.
Believe. Just believe.
And work on your challenges and work on these things, and like you're saying, clear the karmas. I call it clearing the static. That's around us and that has been programmed into us, so that we can fully realize who we are, we can understand who we are, and be empowered and feel more powerful. That's what was spirituality, in itself. I believe now it's very important to have practical applications for it that are healing for us, help us do these things, help us get to the next level, and help empower us. And that's another reason why I had you here, because that's exactly what you do with your work. Could you sort of switch gears a little bit, and now we're talking about like where things are going and like having more of a positive outlook and working on these challenges and seeing them as opportunities and all of that. Can you give like a first, I forgot. So would you give an outlook? I'm going to ask two things. So the second one will be giving an outlook for the year for people to look forward to as astrological kind of points, in time in this year, that could help them navigate all of these changes and challenges and help direct them a little bit. And then I guess, it could be the first, it could be the second. All the other ways that like we were talking about natal charts and what you were born into and what your proclivities are and your mission and all of that stuff we spoke about before. But there are other ways to, in more real time, to find out what's going on this year for you personally and individually. And I urge people to come to you or your tried and true astrologer you already know, but I'm saying Deidre because I know her very well, to do your solar return. What's going to happen for you in your birth year, starting from your birth date. And there's other kinds of charting, like composite charting, that you can look into the relationships that you have with other people, whether they're intimate relationships, business relationships, friendships, like all of those things, so we can have some clues to what the challenges are going to be with certain people, and if we're okay with going through that challenge, if that works for us or not. So absolutely. you can take those both in any order that you like.
Okay. So a natal chart is your birth chart. So it's the chart that we interpret to find out who you truly are, what you've come here to be and learn, in your entire life. So it shows the big challenges you've come in here for, and in your past lives, and how they're going to be affecting you. And a solar return chart, as Roberto mentioned, is your personal horoscope from one year to the next. And it works from birthday to birthday. So it starts with your birthday in one year and goes through to your birthday in the following year. It's not done over a calendar year. And this, as my teacher always used to say, forewarned is forearmed. And it sort of shows you what you could be in store for. And the other thing is that where you have your birthday every year determines your year ahead. So you can actually choose where you're going to have your birthday every year to line up the planets where you want to have them for what you want to go through for the following year.
Okay.
So, for instance, if
I'm booking a session with you. I'm just because my birthday is coming up. So just so you know.
Okay. Yeah. So, for instance, if you've had 4 years of money problems, money just isn't working for you, you can make so that in your natal chart or in your astrology chart, the money area is the second house. And so, what you'd want to do if you didn't want to have any money hassles this year, you'd find a place in the world where there would be which would mean no planets in your second house. So you'd be away from those money hassles for 1 year anyway. I mean, if you've got things you've got to work through, you've got to work through them, but you can choose when you're going to do it. So you've got a little bit of leeway there. My teacher used to travel all over the world to have the planets aligned where she needed them to be for her birthday every year. And the thing is, what's interesting with astrology, it's just your solar return happens when the sun returns to the exact same degree in the sky that it was at the moment of your birth. And so some years your birthday will be the day before your actual birthday. Some years it will be the day after, because it's not linear the way the sun moves. So this is why it's when it's your birthday, and say you're living in New Zealand like me, and I find that it'd be much better for me to have my birthday in the States, then I would find a place in the States that would be best for me. And I only need to be there for the moment of my birthday. And so I can actually fly into the airport. Say it's good for me to be in LA. I could fly into LA airport and then fly out again in half an hour's time. You just got to be there for that moment. So it can really help determine what you're going to do, which you asked me earlier also, Roberto, about
cartography.
What's it called?
Astrocartography.
Cartography. I know it as relocation reports, but yeah, astrocartography, which is exactly that. It's when we can look at how you would be if you were to live in a different place. What would your life be like if you lived in Africa or America or Europe, or countries and cities within those. So we can definitely look at that for you, and especially if you're looking to make a move to another country, for your career or for a marriage or something, it will actually show up whether that's going to be successful for you or not, or whether you'd be better off having that marriage or having that new job somewhere else. So we can see all of those things for you.
Or where I should place this retreat center.
Yeah, absolutely. So it shows, identifies, how you'll be socially there, how you'll be money-wise there, how you'll be health-wise there, and how you'll be in your relationships there. Sort of we come into all of that, and then I'll interpret it for you. And what other? So and the composite charts are when we compare two people. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask that, but I think that I keep trying to, when it's something I get a ding, it's like I want to highlight it. People should this is what I'm talking. This is what I was talking about in the very beginning about the depth that I think that you do astrology. Mm-hmm. It's like, and the depth that some others like you do astrology. It's such a great resource for many different things. I don't think people are aware of it, which is why I was asking all of these questions, because I want people to understand that, it's great to know, your natal chart and all of that other stuff, but there's more that can help you in a practical way throughout your life.
Absolutely. Especially roadblocks, things that just keep going on, like maybe you just can't keep a job. You keep, you get a job and you work there for a while, and then you just can't, you could leave, or you get fired, you just can't stay there. And, if we look at your astrology, probably the lesson within that is you're meant to actually work for yourself, not for anyone else. So of course it's not going to work. So we get to see why is this happening to me, and what can I do about it? What skills and gifts have I brought with me that are going to allow me to overcome this and be successful through it?
And then once you go with that guidance and that energy of that, then you will have that be more successful in that. So,
absolutely.
In a way, it's very, I find it just very helpful to have some foresight
Mm.
into your decision
and it's
making.
reassuring. Yeah, and also, you could also see, look, you're up for some health issues this year. They can see some stuff here that you really need to address. Well, maybe that's good. You're going to get to the doctor or get to your health professional faster than you would just waiting until you got really sick and then having, being the ambulance at the bottom of the cliff rather than trying to grab it before it goes down.
Not that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I had interrupted you. You were going to start talking about composite charting, and
so composite charts are when we take two people. So as you said, it's fantastic for business partnerships if you wanted to go into business with somebody, or if you want to get married to someone, or you want to go traveling with somebody, or you want to move in with somebody, flat with them, live together. It starts so you put the two charts together and you can see what you can achieve together. So when you come together, what the strengths and the weaknesses of the relationship will be. So things to be aware of that might not be too good when you come together, and things that you can really capitalize on and really, develop between the two of you, but that will help your relationship go further, whatever their relationship might be.
Yeah. And, I had done that with you before. And what I found really that I didn't know or understand about it was very interesting, that by composing the charts together, putting them together, you create a whole new entity,
person almost
as person. I didn't want to say that, but as a person, as a composite, obviously, the two together, what that creates. So partnerships in any form whatsoever, you can see what it's going to look like, and if it's going to work.
Yeah,
and if
absolutely,
the souls are aligned to that too, because I know you bring in, you tune into the people that are in those charts as well to see how.
Absolutely, yeah.
And their soul.
Because I've seen people do composite charts, where they have two people who don't know each other, have never met, and they're trying to work out, maybe on a dating site or something, whether these two people will be compatible. And so that's really interesting, because you can astrologically put two people together and go, oh my goodness, they're just the perfect couple. This influences that, and this emphasizes that, and it just works beautifully together. But then if those two people can come together, and if there's no chemistry there, it's not going to happen. So yes, composite charts and astrology could be really helpful to see how you can work together and things like that. But, when it comes to romance in particular, if that chemistry isn't there, there's no amount of astrology is going to put it there. So there is something there to be aware of, that it's not just, workable things. Some things are workable, some things are successful.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because, things are tools, and you always have to check in with yourself. You're not going to look in an astrological chart and say, "Ooh, that is the perfect astrological person for me." And then, but you still have to develop a relationship. You have to like the person. There has to be chemistry.
Absolutely. The humanness of us has to be brought into it as well.
Yeah. So it can't just look good on paper, is what I'm saying.
No. Yeah. Yeah. But, I know at Vedic astrology, which is the astrology in India, which is very much based on the moon. And of course, that's used very common for them to use that for arranged marriages, which on paper, do work really well. And I have met many people from arranged marriages, some who very, very happily married and some completely miserable. But so it does work, and then sometimes it doesn't, like all marriages.
Well, yeah, because there's the real-time component of it, because the charts could say one thing, but you have to take care of the relationship. You have to communicate. Yes. You have to work through your shadows. You have to, lead with your higher self in these relationships. Otherwise they will crumble, because they need nurturing and care.
Yeah. And, your relationships are also your greatest arena for learning and growth. So, it's quite, we should all have had some crappy, terrible relationships, and we should all have had some really good ones, because they're all about learning and growth.
Oh yeah, my I'm done with all that.
Yeah,
the crappy ones. I'm done with the crappy. I learned.
Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt. Keep going.
Yes. So okay. So we spoke about the composite charting, and then I was asking you about just
for the year ahead.
Yes, I think it's a great place to end on.
So 2024 is going to be a very, very fast year. Things are going to move very, very quickly. I mean, gosh, it's nearly the end of April. Not April, February. I'm miles ahead of everybody else. So it's still in February. So it's going to go really, really quickly. And, apart from Pluto moving into Aquarius at the beginning of this year, none of the other major big planets will be changing signs this year. I think at the very end of this year, the North Node changes. But apart from that's all. So from an astrological perspective, there's no major upheavals. But at the same time, the planets are constantly moving in relationships and creating relationships with one another. And so these relationships that they have with each other can cause can have a very strong effect on us. So right now at the moment, I've just done a little video for this on my Facebook page, is that we have Chiron and the North Node are right on top of each other at the moment. They're both sitting at 16 degrees of Aries. So Chiron is the wounded healer. And so the lesson that he's teaching everybody at the moment is that you're being challenged as to whether you're good enough, whether you can stand on your own 2 feet, or whether you can lead others. So those are all buttons that are being pushed by other people towards you at the moment, to signify those things, to make you step up, to make you believe in yourself more, to make you more confident to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, and maybe make you believe that you can take charge and lead people. And so that's what the Chiron's about. And the North Node is our destiny. So basically the North Node being in Aries as well is saying your destiny at this time is to stand on your own 2 feet, is to believe in yourself. So while two planets are working really strongly with each other like that, it's kind of relentless. And unfortunately, because as human beings, we are incredibly stupid and we only ever learn things the hard way. So anyone listening to this will know that the best life lessons you've learned have been the hard ones. And when the ones that you had to lose something or get beaten up or broken in some way, then you learn. And so that's what this is a bit about at the moment. So what you can probably expect at the moment, and probably till around about sort of the end of May, is a lot of people pushing your buttons about whether you think you're good enough or not. And so to learn that we're good enough, we're going to be put down. To learn that we can be in charge, we might lose our job. To learn that we can stand on our own 2 feet, again, we might, not be able to find a job until we start putting ourselves first. So this is a really important learning for everybody at the moment. So the other big thing that's going on this year in general is Uranus is in Taurus, and Jupiter is also in Taurus until around May. And then Jupiter will move into Gemini. And so while these two are in Taurus together, a lot of change is happening on the Earth plane, because Taurus rules the Earth. It's an Earth sign of the zodiac. And so when planets like Uranus, which is all about change and disruption and sudden and unexpected happenings, is in Taurus, it's earthquakes, it's volcanoes, it's flooding. So we can expect a lot more of those things to be happening this year all around the world as well. Because, a friend of mine put it beautifully the other day when she said, it's just the earth shaking off her fleas. I thought that's a very good way of putting it. So lots of changes going on. Yeah, so it'll be a fast year, but I think, really with the influx of the Aquarian energy, that's the most important thing really happening this year, which is going to have the slow but very, very insidious effect on all of us, where we're all going to start enjoying the fact that we might be a bit different, or celebrating the fact that we can do things differently to other people. So it's really is a warm-up to what's to come. 2025 and 2026 are going to be massive years of change because of the way the planets are operating during that time. It'll be, especially Neptune moving out of Pisces and into Aries at the same time as Saturn will be in Aries. So Aries energy is all about taking charge, stepping up, and it's black and white, and it's my way or the highway. So we're stepping out of the age of illusion with Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, and it's all sort of woo-woo. And we're going into, right, this is black and white, this is cut and dried. What are you going to do with your life?
Yeah. I've been talking about reality checks. This year is going to be a big reality check.
Yeah, and a lot of revelations, because under Aquarian energy, the truth must be revealed. So we're going to start learning a lot about what's really going on in the world. And unfortunately for a lot of people, that will bring a lot of fear in. And so there could be a lot of volatility, a lot of anger coming out when people realize the truth of what's been going on. And, that'll be difficult for a lot of people, but a lot of other people, hopefully, if you are one of those people where you're going to suddenly wake up and realize, oh my goodness, this is what's really going on, don't focus on what's going on. Focus on what you want it to be. Focus on the solution. Even if you don't know what the solution is, just focus on a prettier picture than the one you're looking at, because where the thought goes, the energy flows. So even if you're looking at something and saying, I don't like that, you're still putting energy in the wrong direction. It needs to go in a positive direction.
Yeah, and my feeling is, a lot of things that maybe a lot of us kind of know about, but we've been told we're crazy, we're this, we're that by, the authorities, I'll call them. It's like now all of a sudden they're saying, oh yeah, that kind of thing. So like you're saying, staying in it, being angry about it, I can understand the feeling of being duped, kind of thing. But at the same time, I would urge people to also look at the other side, which is things are changing. And it's like, yeah, we kind of knew that all along. It's like, now we get to see this. Now we get to I'm just, asking people to be very careful of their intake of information so that it's not skewed in some way that becomes confusing or puts us in fear. That's all I'll say about that.
No, I agree 100%. And you've got to, if someone presents you with a piece of information that you don't know what to do with or what will make sense of, if it doesn't feel right for you, it's not for you. Just let it go. It might make sense to you in a year's time, and maybe it'll never make sense to you, and that's okay. Just don't try and be what you're not. Be and go with what feels right to you. You've got an ability to think, you're an amazing soul, so why would your decisions not be as good as anybody else's?
Yeah, and I would say instead of being angry at people's perspectives or opinions, it's like, just be curious about them, like you're saying. And if it works for you, it works for you. It doesn't. But there might be something that it has for you that's going to help you, even if it's a negative thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good.
I had a question about, like, is Pluto going to kind of slide briefly back into Capricorn this year for a moment?
About September, he slides back in, I think from September to November, back into Capricorn. And that will be interesting because that will be, as I see it, moving forward, the people who aren't going to cope are people who can't flow with change. People who want to cling on to the old ways of being, they're going to be the ones that are going to find it the hardest over these coming years. But if you're open to change, if you're willing to look at things differently, it should be easy for you. I mean, there'll be ups and downs, of course, but it should be a much easier ride. So it's all about, how you choose to perceive things. That's what's going to be the winning or the losing way of doing things.
Yeah, and I've been urging people in some of the other podcast episodes and just people that I've been working with, to start working on that now.
Yes, absolutely.
Keeping your perspective open to change, keeping like those things, doing that inner work that's going to help you do that and have less fear and have more higher vibrational energy within you. So your higher self is looking at all of this stuff as an observer rather than you feeling a victim of it.
Exactly. Yep.
So prepare yourself now.
Aquarian energy is very good at detachment. It's very good at, it doesn't do drama. It steps away from drama and watches it. It doesn't buy into it. So that's what we really need, because the world's become way too dramatic, like a Hollywood movie playing out every 5 minutes.
I know the drama. It's almost like my childhood. I won't get into it here, but it was like, that's what it felt like. It felt like all this stuff was happening, and I like insane stuff in my childhood, and I'm just sitting there going, this is like the craziest movie that I'm inside right now.
Yeah.
I was observing it, and that helped me. That my brother didn't have my perspective or knowing that way, and it helped him destroy his own life. I'll put it that way, in certain ways. So it had a negative impact on him. But the reason this came up now from guidance is like, because that's the perspective that you have to have. Like that observer. Yes, it's happening around you. However, the amount that it affects you is up to you.
Absolutely. And that's the key. Detachment. Detach from anything that doesn't make you feel good.
Absolutely. And how do you think the I would say the year is going to end up? Like, the finish line of the year, what's in store once Capricorn?
I think there'll be a lot of people by the end of this year who are different people than they were from the people when they started out this year, definitely. And some in a good way, some in a bad way. I know, as again, the revelations, some people, depending on your perspective, will either make good out of that or make bad out of that. But I sort of feel by the end of this year, I think people will be a lot more fired up, and I think people will be a lot more determined to just do their own thing. The society, this type of isn't working for me. I'm just going to do my own thing here with this. And that's the beginning of the new ways of being.
Oh, good, because that's what... See, because, I'm glad you said that. For me personally, or anybody with all this Piscean energy within them, because there's an escapist kind of
yes, absolutely
thing within me, the Piscean thing that, I have some other planets that balance that out. Thank goodness. I get stuff done. But like, but what was I going to say? That it's easy to want to escape from these realities and these shifts, yes, that are going to be coming at us, or that we're going to become aware of. And I think it's important to just stay level-headed.
Yeah. And if something is coming at you that is frightening you or challenging you in some way, just take a step back. You don't have to react immediately. You don't have to act on anything immediately. Just give it time to feel right for you, or to find the way that you can best handle it in some way.
Yeah, there's going to be like Scorpio challenges the most, right? You're saying to be less reactive and more observing before you act.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And don't be afraid to be different. We've all got an inner quirky, weird side somewhere. Now's the time to let it out.
Yeah, like this year, well, I've been doing this for a while, but I would love for this year to be, for everyone, the year where I don't care what anybody thinks. I don't care what anybody...
It might take a few more years of Aquarian energy for us to get there, but that is the direction we're heading in, definitely.
Yeah.
Because what other people think of you is none of your business. If you make it your business, you either get hurt or you get a big head. Either way, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, we're totally on the same page, because it's just like, it's nice to get a compliment or reassurance here and there, but just as much as that opinion has less value than your own. And like people can compliment you, all they want. You are doing a good job, but until you know it yourself and believe it, it's not going to have that impact. So you can't get attached to that, because then you're reaching for that versus just being yourself.
Exactly.
And
again, you're buying into something that's outside of yourself rather than you. Yeah,
and live your life. Like, don't live someone else's version of your life. I guess that's the
and you're not here to please anybody either.
Oh no.
You're here to please yourself.
Surely don't please everybody. So for all of those people pleasers in the crowd, just like, you don't have to. No. Focus on yourself.
Absolutely. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing.
It's a wonderful thing. And it's not a selfish thing. So is there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I think we've done great.
Yes.
We've covered lots of things.
Yes.
Anything else you wanted to talk about?
I wanted to talk about you and how people can find you.
Oh, right.
More specifically.
Okay, so I have a website. It's www.starwise. So star, STAR, and then a hyphen, and then wise.com. And on my website, you can find all my courses. You can book readings with me. There's a calendar there. It's all set to go. You can just book everything in there. And there's meditations you can buy there as well. And it's all ready to go there. I've got healing courses there, as well as readings that I do, where I do the work when I talked about the metaphysical work with the inner child and the ego self. There's courses doing that, as well as readings you can have with me, whether it's a natal chart reading or a solar return reading. And so you just book it all through my website. I'd love to work with you.
And there's some trainings too. Yes, you have.
And like Roberto, I also teach astrology, straight astrology as well. And there's 3 levels of that course that I teach that can all be done one-on-one online. And when you work with me, I work with you one-on-one. We meet together once a week for an hour to 2 hours to discuss whatever the lesson is for that week. and then it's all recorded for you, and there's a big handbook that goes with each level of the course as well, so you're not left on your own. I hate the thought of people trying to learn things that are complicated and just being left to their own devices and no one to ask questions or to help. So I decided when I was going to do these courses, I wanted to work with people face to face so that they could have all their questions answered.
Oh yeah, that was wonderful about the training that I did with you.
Oh,
I love that. I love that. What else was I going to say? So, you, I mean, I know about this, but you had mentioned here about your video posts on Facebook.
Yes.
Can you talk about what they are more? Because you did a little bit of it here.
Yeah.
In here.
Sure. And I have a YouTube channel as well, which is called Starwise Clairvoyant Astrology. And that's what my Facebook is also called Starwise Clairvoyant Astrology. So I put posts up when the planets do things, basically. And so today I was talking about the Chiron and North Node thing that I mentioned before. And then there's a new moon in Aquarius a couple of days ago. So I put up a post. So whenever the planets do something, or if I'm feeling something needs to be said, I put up a short post about it on Instagram or on Facebook. And I load them up to my YouTube channel as well. And on my website as well, I do often do a lot of writing as well. So there's a lot of written blog posts that you can read as well. And the videos are just a short sort of summary of the big long writing that I often do. So it's all there for you. Lots of information to share.
Yes. And I'm like, where do you find the time? And
I don't always. Sometimes it's a juggle.
Well, when the planets align, that's when you do these things. But it's very frequent. Those Facebook posts are so insightful. That's why that's why I brought that up again, for people to focus there. But if you're seeking more individual personal thing, because people have personal questions about relationship, finances, life, all kinds of things, then they really should seek you out for readings. Yeah, they really should. They won't be. Yes, definitely. And I will put some of the things I wasn't aware of. So send me all of this, the links and things and stuff like. I'll put them in the notes of this so that people can definitely find you. There's so much value there that Right. I continue to urge people to do that. So I will end us there. Okay. Thank you. It's been lovely talking to you today, and thank you for having me on your podcast. Very much appreciate it. Yes. No. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Beautiful conversation, and I really appreciate you taking the time to be here. Okay. So, many blessings to you. Many blessings to everyone, and we will post this video soon. But why am I saying that here? Because it'll be posted by the time you hear that. Just in case you miss it. Just in case you just look at this part. No. So yes. So I'm going to post everything. Until then, see you soon. Okay. And take care. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.